Good evening. We'll call the meeting back to order, and I'll ask Madam Clerk for a roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Oden?
Here.
Mr. Earl Spurgeon? Here. Mr. Kleindienst?
Here. If you'll all please rise for the flag salute. Gentlemen.
Color guard, prepare to advance. Advance. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Color guard, prepare to post colors. Post colors. Color guard salute. 2. Color guard regroup. Dismissed.
Although we have someone scheduled for tonight's invocation, they have called in and are unable to attend tonight, so I'll ask for a brief word, please, from Mr. Oden.
Let us pray. To the great power in this vast universe that watches over us and protects us, we come before you tonight, seeking direction and guidance as leaders from this community, that you would anoint us and grant us the ability to legislate equitably and in a very positive way for our community. Remember the people who live within our city and those beyond the boundaries of our city. Remember in a special way Barb White and her family after the loss of her husband James. And we will be careful to give you all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor as a result of you being here and blessing us in a special way. Amen.
We have a presentation tonight. The California Highway Patrol has an award for one of our officers, and I'll call now our police chief to the podium to handle this presentation. Chief Gary Gendron.
I'd like to invite the California Highway Patrol up and the representative from AAA.
Very good.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Kathy Asher, and joining me is Lieutenant Elaine Wallace. And we're here this evening to present what is known as a 10851 award, which recognizes police officers that make significant contributions to the recovery of stolen vehicles and the arrest of suspected car thieves. The award gets its name from the California Vehicle Code section that provides vehicle theft. To qualify for the award, an officer must meet any of the following criteria within a 1-year period. They must make either 6 separate rolling stolen with the suspect occupied in custody arrests, or recover a total of 12 stolen vehicles, at least 3 of which are the suspects that occupy the vehicle, or develop information which results in the identification of a theft ring and the arrests of 2 or more suspects and the recovery of at least 10 vehicles. So that's pretty important stuff we have going here. So it's my pleasure to be here this evening to recognize Officer Gustavo Ariza for his outstanding achievement in auto theft recovery. I'd like to express the gratitude of our members at AAA, our insured, and the general motoring public for this valuable contribution. Your work helps reduce the financial loss incurred by society because of motor vehicle theft crimes. An excellent example of the savings your reports can represent to motorists is evident in the 2,000 vehicle theft statistics. During that year in California, 181,000 vehicles were stolen. Statewide, 71%, or almost 128,000 of the stolen vehicles were recovered. This exemplifies the tremendous service and economic savings that you provide to the motorists. So, Officer Ariza, on behalf of the Auto Club, I'd like to congratulate you and present you with this certificate. And our CHP officer also has, our lieutenant also has a pin for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Stand up.
Yeah, it was good. He looked really tall, didn't he? Really tall. Woo.
Jeez. Job well done. Job well done. I'll turn now to Madam Clerk, please, for a report on the posting of the agenda, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the agenda you have before you was posted in accordance with council procedures last Friday, August the 2nd. The city manager is withdrawing items 10 and 11 tonight. In addition, the council will be getting additional resolutions concerning item 8. We will give those to you at the time that that item comes up. Some of the items have been separated for your voting convenience. And in addition, the council will be getting a supplemental item, materials on item 7 when that item comes up.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Report from the city attorney, please, on the closed session matters. Mr. Alshire?
Yes, council and agents met in closed session. The items concerning the Jazz Hall of Fame, the Spa Hotel, and the Sunrise Village Mobile Home Park were not discussed, those real property negotiations. We did discuss real property negotiations involving Palm Canyon LLC in the Palm Canyon area. We gave a status report. No action was taken. We also discussed real property negotiations involving the Palm Springs Tennis Center with Harold Matzner. We gave a status report. No action was taken. Real property negotiations with Fred Elge concerning the Visitor Center parcel. We gave a status report. No action was taken. We did not discuss real property negotiations with John Westman concerning the trail easement. We did discuss real property negotiations with Tom Suet concerning property across from the convention center. We gave a status report. No action was taken. Also, real property negotiations with the Palm Springs Unified School District concerning surplus airport property. Gave a status report. No action was taken. The litigation matters of Desert Water Agency, El Dorado, and Swerdlow were not discussed. Exposure to litigation in 3 cases. We did discuss 1 case. We gave a status report. No action was taken. The city attorney evaluation was discussed. No action was taken.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Alshire. The Housing Authority, the Industrial Development Authority, the Financing Authority, and the Community Redevelopment Agency have no business scheduled for tonight's meeting. We'll now turn to our audience for public comments. Anyone wishing to address the council on matters within the jurisdiction, please come forward at this time. Very good. Seeing no one, we'll close public comments. Council, I'll turn your attention to the approval of the consent calendar. These are items 1 through 6. I'll ask for a blanket motion unless you wish to pull an item for discussion, separate vote, or to note your abstentions.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mills.
I need to abstain on item 4. I was the architect on the project. And item 6, warrant number 978427, business related.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mills. Additional comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Approval by Mr. Oden and second by Ms. Reller Spurgeon. Any additional comments or questions at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask Madam Clerk for roll, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Ross Perigin?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, it is 5-0. It's deemed unanimous. There is no extended consent calendar nor other public hearings scheduled tonight. Council, under the council comments, announcements, or interagency reports, what's your pleasure, please? Any reports at this time?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Oden.
I attended First Friday this past week and discovered that there are quite a few shops that are moving, and new property owners have come in and purchased property and have gone up excessively, I think, on the rents, and people are being forced out. We've put a lot of time and effort in developing this special district, and I think perhaps we need a report back exactly what's going on, an evaluation, and perhaps some direct communication with the business owners in that area. And I also had the opportunity to attend the grand opening of Coffee, and I had the best iced coffee that I've ever had. It was very, very good, and it's called Coffee, K-O-F-F-I, and hopefully people will come out and support our new business. And I also attended along with the rest of the council members, the opening of the Short Film Festival last evening. And I just want to say congratulations to the Film Festival for, I think, an excellent program. And in a special way, Mr. Levine, what's his first name? Mitch. Mitch. And a welcome to him, to the community from the city of Palm Springs.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Oden. Other council comments, announcements, or interagency reports? Just to give a little insight, again, I enjoy doing this from a historical standpoint. We tend to forget what happened in our past, and I imagine after September 11th, we're more cognizant of what has happened to our country and what we've been involved in. This is the week that we remember that in 1945, America dropped the first and only atomic bombs on Japan, both on the 6th and then 3 days later on the 9th. So I always deem it necessary to remember that. And oddly enough, on August 9th in 1914, Japan had declared war on Germany itself. So bits of history and trivia for the week. We moved through ours in a peaceful time right now by comparison to what was going on in 1945. All right, any other council comments or reports? Otherwise, we'll turn to our legislative calendar. First piece is item 7, the downtown parking structure. It is the shade structure to be discussed tonight, and I'll turn to Mr. Reddy for his staff's report. Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Mr. Butzloff, Assistant City Manager, is passing out, for your perusal, it's the bid and award schedule, just to give you an idea of where we are with the parking structure. The legislation before you this evening is regarding the shade structure, and for those of you who have been parking structure watching, you'll see it's moving at lightning speed. This piece is going to be the shade structure, and I would ask Mr. Smoot to give you a specific detail, and of course we have Mr. Fontana in the audience who can address some issues and questions as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Reddy. Members of council, before we go through the little spreadsheet, let's talk about the shade structures. This request is for you to authorize the purchase of shade structures from Bird Air, and that we're recommending that we purchase 16 of the units. The drawing that you see on the wall behind you, you can see the little black square boxes with the X's in them. Those represent the shade structures that would be purchased. The two that are in yellow are not being recommended for being purchased at this point. That's a total of 18 up there. What we're recommending is we go ahead and purchase the 16, and we get the embeds, the mounting devices that go in the concrete for the other two, and that we proceed with that. If we get towards the end of the project and we're able to afford the other two, then we'll go back and get the other two and put them in there. Those two will be on the northerly elevation, I'm sorry. And you'd have to look over the top of the Fisherman's Market to see them, so they're not readily going to be missed. The major elevation that had the nice elevation because of the shapes of the shade structure is the elevation to the east, which is the one that has the majority of them on there. We being Mr. Fontana and Mr. Good and Turner have gone through a pretty exhaustive process trying to find alternatives to the bird air structures to see if we could find something less expensive, but with comparable warranties, and the end of that search brings us to the point to where we cannot find a product that will give us the 20-year warranty that we want to get on this product, and that's why we're recommending the purchase directly from Bird Air. And then the spreadsheet that I've given you is getting a little longer than it was last time because things are getting added in there. I think the most important number for you to look at is the second to the last numbers on the page. If you can look in the first column where it was the estimate, we had a contingency amount of $415,000 that we started with. And at this point, I'd report to you that we've got $342,000 left in there. There's a bunch of things that have been happening that weren't in the original estimate. There's things that are happening on the site on a daily basis. We're doing rather well at this point. Our biggest liabilities on a construction project like this, particularly one where there was an old service station, was quite frankly getting out of the ground. And I think if you've been there, you can see we're out of the ground. There is still a lot of potential problems ahead, and so that's why we're recommending that you do not buy the other two parking or the shade structures at this point. However, we're hopeful that we're going to hold it together and be able to do it at the end. And that's where we sit. And between Mr. Fontana and myself and Mr. Good, hopefully we can answer your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Smoot. Council, questions on the report?
Mr.
Mr. Oden, go ahead, sir.
I appreciate the effort that they put forth in trying to get the best possible product, the guarantee, the warranty, and the maintenance that we believe that we need, and overall attempting to save us money and watching the budget. So with that, I will move the minute order.
Second.
Motion for approval of Mr. Oden and a second by Ms. Rella Spurgeon. Additional comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills.
Just one thing, Alan, and that is that the price of the two that we may buy later is written into the agreement. Okay, thank you.
Question I have, is this the same quality product we started out with? There's no reduction in quality, is that right?
This is the exact same product that
Just
the
a
airport
reduction in
is.
quantity of product.
That is correct.
But we do have the intention, if in the future, to add it. We've taken care of it by placing all that needs to be in slabs.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Just to make sure we're clear on that. Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Ross Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, 5-0, unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8 is the 2002 special municipal election, and I'll turn to Mr. Reddy for his staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This regards the special election that's before you to ask to call. What's being handed out to you is the actual ballot language that the clerk has requested to be put in front of you. The city clerk has a few comments, and then City Attorney Mr. Alshire will conclude the presentation. Thank you. Tricia?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the four top resolutions that you have in front of you are a separation of each one of the measures. I separated those, as you can tell, with utility user tax and the transit occupancy tax due to them being whether or not any of these measures are charter or municipal code. That was one separation. The other separation were whether it was a citizen initiative or a council-initiated measure. On the back of each one of these, you have the ability to be the author, the primary author of arguments. That decision must be made tonight, whether you choose to be in favor or against any or all or some of the measures. As a council, you make that decision to do them tonight. Later, you can do it as an individual, but as a council, as the body, the decision has to be made tonight. There are 6 different measures. You have 6 opportunities to be the author, either in favor or against of any or all, or one.
Okay. Mr. Alshire.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Let's go through these. As the city clerk indicated, she's grouped them into 4 different packages. The first package that let's discuss is the one that says 8C on the bottom. 8C is dealing with 2 measures that came about through the initiative petition process. The 2 measures are listed in section 1, and we're going through this because in adopting this resolution, you will adopt the form of the question that's actually put to the voters. And what I'd like to do is deal with these each separately, so we can, if you have questions about the wording, we can bring it up as we go through it. So let's start. The first measure that's listed here is the 5% utility tax. And the way we've suggested wording the measure is, shall the city municipal code be amended to repeal the city's 5% utility tax on users of telephone, electricity, or gas services? So that's a relatively short measure. So I would ask, are you comfortable with the wording of that measure, or is there some change you'd like to make?
All right, council? I guess the first question I had was telephone, electricity, or gas. Should it be and?
Yeah, I mean, it is, the utility tax is in on all 3 of those, so we can change or to and.
It's not an option, it's all 3.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mills?
isn't it also on the cable service?
No, we did not place it on.
There's a separate franchise fee on cable.
Okay, anything else besides that wording change from or to and, as council? It's fairly simple.
Okay, the second measure, it again was submitted by the voters. It deals with the TOT issue. Shall the city municipal code, again, municipal code amendment, be amended concerning the tax currently collected on transient occupancy of hotel rooms, so that the tax rate will vary from 10 to 12.5% based on the number of rooms in the hotel and monies raised by the tax. I guess it should say with monies raised by the tax to be spent solely to encourage local tourism, including related programs such as parks, entertainment, and public art, but not for other functions of the city. The components of this question are obviously our current rate is structured based upon whether or not you're a group hotel. And I sort of tried to put some wording in that, but really nobody knows what a group hotel is anyway. And then, of course, the number of rooms, there's 3 categories of rooms under this measure, but by the time you added those different categories, it kind of stretched out the wording. So I felt that probably the critical issue is that the tax rate, and instead of the 2 rates we have now, it varies from 10 to 12.5%. It's based upon the number of rooms in the hotel. And the other critical issue of this new measure is it limits how we spend the money. And the wording does talk about to encourage local tourism, and then there are a series of things that are included under the measure. Now, we can't list all of those things. They basically fall under the category of local tourism. However, there are a couple things that one might not think of as local tourism that are included in the listing. One is parks, another is entertainment, another is public art. So I felt that potentially we should, instead of just saying to encourage local tourism, period, that we should indicate that the way this measure defines local tourism, it includes parks, entertainment, and public art as local tourism. And then to, again, it doesn't allow us to spend the money on safety services and other important functions of the city. So we restated that not for other functions of the city.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Ms. Rella Spurgeon.
One suggestion that I would make is if there was a way that you could get the wording so that it lets the public know that it isn't, they're not paying it. The visitor, the occupant, if you currently collected on hotel rooms paid for by
Well, that was the reason that we stuck in the language. It says on transient occupancy of hotel rooms.
I understand. I'm trying to make it more
More of a
clear.
layman's term.
Maybe instead of on transient occupancy of hotel rooms, if it said on persons occupying hotel rooms.
Something like that.
And then it's more than hotel rooms, isn't it, in actuality? Is it not apartments and condos and homes less than 20, 30 days?
Yeah, but again, that starts getting into,
Too confusing.
we're limited to 75 words, and so if you throw too much in here, you get over the limit.
Can you add a percentage behind 10?
Well, it could actually, the city clerk improved my wording, and I had 10, 11, and 12 and a half, and she took out 11.
Or just rather it says 10% to 12.5%? If you can put percent into it.
Okay, so you just want a percentage sign after 10?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
And it doesn't, I had included, that it was 12.5% of, the rental rate of the room. And so right now it says 10 to 12.5%. Doesn't actually say of what, but it says based upon the number of rooms. So it's,
Okay.
I don't know if you feel that clarification needs to be there.
All right, Mr. Mills?
If we are outlining what it is to be spent on, is it appropriate to expound on the other functions as to what it is not being spent on?
Wouldn't that be?
The two of us in my office, we had a draft that said, not on other functions such as public safety services. We ended up concluding that by calling that out of all of the other potential things, that we would be accused of trying to create a negative context to the measure. So we finally decided to take that out and just leave it vague, where it says other functions and doesn't identify particular functions.
We certainly can in the
The-
response to.
And absolutely, the city attorney writes an impartial analysis, and we do include that comment in that discussion. This isn't the whole thing, it's just the actual question on the ballot. And obviously, in the arguments prepared by the pro and con, those arguments will be made.
Okay. Any other amendments to the text before you on either of the measures?
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question in
By all
reference
means.
to this TOT? What about the TOT that currently is pledged, like to the Wyndham, you know, the convention center? Those things that are already in place,
Well,
have been for years and years.
actual contracts that are in place, we're required to honor those contracts under the constitutional principles. So we will need to honor those contracts. We'd have to identify particular circumstances as to whether, for example, the pledge, some of our pledges are in an amount equivalent to what the TOT is, but it's actually not the TOT dollars that are pledged. So in that case, the TOT is used to calculate, but it's redevelopment money that pays it. So the redevelopment money would still have to pay it. So we really have to look at the particular circumstances. But if there was a specific contract, ballot measures can't change the terms of contracts we've entered into.
Now, this would still allow for the percentage to be sent to the convention,
CVA.
CVA?
Well, I think that when that contract's up, no, we would not be,
That
again.
contract has no sunset, though. CVA has no sunset.
Well, I don't know, I think there's a question about that. Again, the issue is whether that contract is paid with general fund money that's in an amount equivalent to a calculation of TOT dollars or its actual TOT dollars.
That's
There-
splitting hairs I can't answer.
There are also some issues concerning, if this gets addressed, we've talked about on some of these measures, there may be some legal questions to address at a later point in time. But the way the measure is worded, the money can be spent solely on these purposes. By the way, I guess another question would be whether spending the money with the Convention Visitors Bureau is encouraging local tourism and is a purpose that fits under the measure.
That'll depend on who you speak to.
Well, I know.
That debate's been going on for a decade. And your large hotels will give you a valid argument as to why it's essential the CVA be funded, as will a convention center.
I'm happy to state that no matter which way we go on this, there will be future work for lawyers.
So the way to, as I understand it, the way to leave the contractual obligations of the CVA is to pay them a year in advance. It's a buyout. But it doesn't
I'm sorry,
start-
say that one again? What
Way to leave the CVA is to give them a year,
That's correct, yeah.
a
you did.
year's
Uh-huh.
payment in advance without any advertising, marketing,
You don't get the
your
benefit of
benefit
that.
for that year.
Yes.
And that was constructed in cooperation with all the cities that are members. So we, at that time, participated with that language. The intent was to keep the membership together. And if you left and came back, you had to buy your way back in for all the years that you had been absent, as in the case of Desert Hot Springs, which is buying its way back in now. And for the time they're gone and now paying back, they are reaping no greater benefit. So the intent of the CVA was to remain a unified front in dealing with regional tourism. So that will cause an effort for you in the legal department at some point, if that's reviewed further, sir.
If you're comfortable then with the wording of those two measures, the other question that the city clerk let you know about is there's also a resolution attached in terms of ballot arguments. And if the council wants to authorize itself to file ballot measures, then you have priority and you can sign the argument, and you can do that either an argument in favor or against the measures.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mills.
I'd like to go back to the issue I brought up before about the other functions. I appreciate that the city attorney may take a point of view, but the point of view I have is that you're not aiming this thing any other way. You're putting all the information out there for somebody to read. So the information, to me, as much information as you can get in that 75 words is appropriate. And if public safety needs to be added in there for other functions, because certainly that money is spent towards public safety currently, and this is saying that it would not be. So I would think that, I would certainly like to see that in the initiative, because I really, I honestly do think some people will be voting from just reading this and not reading the pros and the cons. And so the opportunity to inform the voter the best way possible, to me, would be to let them know what this is saying, as much information as you can give them. For the same reason that you tell them what it is going to be used for, you can tell them what it was not be used for, which as it currently is. And if you can do that in 75 words, that's a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important that the voter know that they're not paying this tax and they are being affected by voting yes on this, in my opinion, that it will affect our quality of life.
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Hodges.
I appreciate both what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you to the extent I'd like to see it there, but I don't think it's being very impartial when you do things like that. I think you're slanting it, and I'm not sure that's our job to do.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Oden?
Well, I'm not sure if it's it's slanting it or not, but I think taking the position of trying to make sure that it's so balanced can be perceived as imbalanced. I think it will mean that we will have to take greater initiative in terms of, and when I say we, I mean the members who live in our city, our citizens, will have to take the position of making sure that those who are educated, that they get out and that they talk to their neighbors and friends and actually make sure that people understand what we're voting on. I just hate to get into an unnecessary legal battle with people who are saying that we're trying to do anything to their argument. You know, personally, I don't think it will stand, and it means that the community will have to make sure that it doesn't do that if that's not what it wants. So I think we should just, I think the attorney has looked at it, and I think they've made a recommendation to us based upon their expertise, and I'm willing to support it.
I've got a question on the last phrase when it starts under the TOT measure.
Yeah, which one?
It states, including related programs such as. I mean, why is that phrase in there? Why not just say the tax will be spent solely to encourage local tourism, period?
The reason it was put in there is it seemed to me, in trying to have a description that someone can basically look at a sentence and know what the measure is, that to encourage local tourism would create an impression in one's mind. And there was an effort on the part of the persons that authored this to create a somewhat broader list of issues. And things specifically listed that one might not necessarily think is local tourism is parks, for example. Parks tend primarily to benefit residents. It's not really for tourists. Entertainment, you know, maybe that's there's a tourism use there. Public art, we certainly have public art in part because of the environment. So,
But we don't use TOT for public arts in this town. We have public arts funds for public arts.
well, it'll be one of the few things you can use it for in the future, so maybe in the future you would use it for that purpose. Again, it was just because I felt that if you stopped at local tourism, there are some permitted sources of expenditure that may be different than what one would expect. But if the council wanted to cut it off at local tourism, period, that would. I think the other thing was when I added this language, not for other functions of the city, I didn't want to be accused of saying for local tourism and not other functions, and then having somebody say, well, what do you mean? It says right there it's used for parks, and you've created the impression it can't be used for parks.
I've got a problem with making a list of things it includes without making a list of things it excludes. Because it's a change in what we're doing, and you're not fair to the voter by saying it's gonna do these great things, but you don't know that it's at the expense of these things being lost. So if you're gonna be fair, you've gotta give a balanced view. If you're gonna make a list of things it includes, then you should also make a list of things that it has now excluded based on current funding priorities. That's how I'd see it.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Oden?
If you want to cut it there, I think that would be acceptable.
Yeah, are you
So that
saying
it
local
explain- it
tourism,
explains
period?
nothing, you know, that's fine. Sure.
So you take out the related programs and you take out not for other functions.
Yeah.
These chairs are fun, aren't they?
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mills?
my question would be, Mr. Alshire, if you took that out, and I agree with what the mayor's saying, if you took that out, then you could just as well be accused of not putting all the facts in as you could if you left out the public safety issues I talked about. So, I mean, it's all pertinent to what this measure is. And
But you only have 75 words.
you only
Gotta
have,
figure
and
out
I don't
which
know how
words
many
you're
words
gonna
this
add.
is, so.
This is probably 75 now.
It's, what was the count on this, Trish? This one was one of the longer ones, but you know, we have a few more words to play with, but not a lot. It's, again, this is not the sum of materials that the voter gets concerning what they're voting on. There's an impartial analysis, there's a pro argument, a con argument, rebuttal arguments, but there are people where basically all they actually read is the specific measure.
Right.
That's right.
That's right.
Read the ballot measure on the ballot, and that's all they
Yep.
see.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor.
City Clerk?
The word count that I have with the amendments that I've heard so far is holding at 72. And that's including the Parks Entertainment, the question.
Oh, it is.
The only change was adding or persons occupying hotel rooms, the percentage sign, which didn't count, and the word "to."
Is that adding public safety and other functions?
No, so, I mean, if you,
There's 3 words.
but not for other public functions of the city, such as public safety. That's 4 words, that would be one too many.
Well, you could do
I'm sure we could-
parenthetical,
Well, once you take
i.e.
entertainment out,
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do parenthetical reference, i.e. public safety, into parentheses.
Well, the good news, we only have 4 more after this to talk about,
this is the tough one though.
And it's early.
and it's early, yeah.
Okay, so what's the latest on the table here?
Well, what I hear you talking about, there are about 3 different positions here. One is put a period after tourism and take everything else out. A second position is to take out the related programs, but leave in not for other functions of the city. A third position is to leave it as it is, but say not other functions except, including public safety, or something like that.
Can you take out the word functions and put the word services?
Certainly.
So
Well,
it
that doesn't.
states not for other services of the city. Or other city services. How's
Well,
that?
Shorter.
no, that doesn't. Services does it.
No, he's shortening, he's making less words.
Not for other city services.
Saves you 2 words.
And I still think you should make some reference, i.e. public safety, because you are precluded from spending it on public safety. And I think the voters should know that. I mean, if they've made an issue about it and how they present their ballot measure, then I think the voters should see that in the language of the ballot measure, not so much in the accompanying documents, because again, the synopsis should be as clear and accurate as possible.
Okay, how about if we go from solely to encourage local tourism, and then skip that next line, but not for other services of the city or city services, or something like that? Looks like it's more balanced that way.
Okay? I'm okay with that.
It's okay.
Essentially, we'll go with solely to encourage local tourism. Then we're going to skip the next, but not for other services of the city or city services.
City
City
services.
services.
City services.
And we won't make reference to public safety.
Not specifically, right.
Okay, so here's the wording I have on this. Shall the city municipal code be amended concerning the tax currently collected on persons occupying hotel rooms so that the tax rate will vary from 10% to 12.5% based on the number of rooms in the hotel, comma, with monies raised by the tax to be spent solely to encourage local tourism, but not for other city services.
Perfect.
You could actually leave the but out and it's work okay too, so either way.
Well, it could, but could be and, actually.
Okay,
All right.
that's acceptable.
Now, moving on to the issue of, do the council members want to file arguments either for or against this measure?
I'd support arguments against.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too.
On both
Okay.
measures.
Then what we would do is, on the resolution that has the blanks, on the one you will adopt, we will fill in all 5 council names.
Council concurrent with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
All right, so then I suggest that what we do in making the motion here is to make the motion for the the language for the 2 measures as amended, and to include all 5 names in opposition on arguments. Is there a maker of that motion?
So moved?
Is there a second? Here by Ms. Hodges and second by Mr. Oden. Any questions, comments, or points of clarification necessary?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Mills?
I just would like to ask Mr. Alshire again to make sure he's comfortable from a legal standpoint about eliminating items. We're talking about encourage local tourism. Parks are really not directly tourism related. Entertainment, who knows what that means, and public art is not really tourism related. Are you comfortable in not putting those 3 in there?
Yes, because I was less comfortable with the, adding the public safety in isolation to all other issues because the measure itself doesn't ever talk about that. We don't have to and don't have the ability in 75 words to put everything in here that is incorporated in the measure. So again, I had a little concern that by adding not other city services, it would, which I didn't obviously have to add because it says spent solely. When I added not city services, I was sort of saying it twice, and I was concerned that that it would be interpreted that that was a negative connotation, and so by adding the other things, I was trying to be open. But I think that this, if we were attacked on this, I think I could convince a judge that this is a unbiased, fair summary of the measure, and in conjunction with the city attorney analysis, which will specifically call those things out, that will be okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Clerk is clear on this issue for 8C. Council, any further comments? I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Ross Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye. Question for both the clerk and legal. Who writes the arguments under the council? Do we assign that at this time?
Dallas has always,
Yeah. Yeah, Troy, who's going to be glad he got on board here.
Okay.
It's obviously up to you how that occurs.
Council okay with assigning that to staff?
Yes,
But we approve it.
right, we,
Yes.
Correct?
Oh, yes.
we've always,
Your signature's on it, you
Yep.
better approve it.
Those arguments were due on August the 20th, 5 PM.
August 2/8, 5 PM. What day of the week is that? Wednesday?
20th.
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 Got it. Okay. Let's go to our next one then. 8D.
Okay, that was fun. We'll go to 8D. Now, 8D, again, I have two measures. These measures are both charter amendments, so they were put into a separate resolution. They, again, are both citizen-initiated. The first measure, shall the city charter be amended to prohibit any person elected to the office of the mayor or city council or appointed to any city board or commission from serving more than 2 terms or a total of 10 years in that office or on that board or commission? This seemed fairly straightforward to me in terms of a summary of the term limit measure that has been submitted. But if anyone has any improvements?
Mr. Mayor,
Hodges.
I don't really have specific wording, but I think that the term limits should be in there someplace. I think this massages it and makes it sound like it's maybe something other than what it is.
Shall the city charter be amended to provide for term limits that would prohibit any person? Something along that line? So that the opening volley is in fact statement of term limits?
You know, people understand certain words and they,
Yes.
they
So
know
could we
what
say
you're
it should be
talking
Create
about
term
when you're
limits.
talking about term limits.
to create term limits prohibiting any person elected from?
Okay with that, Dana? Good suggestion. Others? Okay. Council comfortable in going to the next one then? Good suggestion.
Okay, that one's okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one, this one's kind of difficult because this parking measure is, it's kind of simply written, but it's complicated and far-reaching. And it was a little difficult with the word limits to encompass everything in the measure. But here's the stab. Shall the city charter and municipal code be amended to prohibit the city, other than at the airport, because the whole thing excludes the airport, from 1, metering, charging for, or taxing any public parking space? And public parking space means either on the street or in a structure. 2, reserving public parking spaces for any user except the state handicap parking requirements. And 3, placing any time restrictions for public parking spaces less than 24 hours. There was some language in the measure dealing with valet parking. I felt that the intent of the valet parking measures were basically to say that valet parking continued, and it sort of said you can't charge for valet parking, but we already said you can't charge for any parking, so I felt this was,
You can't charge for valet parking?
well, you can't, you can't charge, the city can't charge for the valet parking spaces, which we can't charge for any spaces, so. Basically, the measures in there were intended to establish that valet parking can continue operating. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. So the only amendment we have is to the first measure to create term limits, striking to prohibit to just prohibiting. Okay? Any other
Mr.
measures
Mayor?
intact? Mr. Mills?
Just one really minor comment.
Please.
Rather than the Roman numeral, do you think the actual numerical 1, 2, and 3 would be
Yeah,
better?
that would be fine, or A, B, and C.
A, B, and C, something?
Or A, B, and C, yeah.
It's easier to read.
This, I think the city clerk liked Roman numerals more.
Okay.
I couldn't resist.
We don't have the letter designation on these at this time, do we?
Pardon me?
No.
All right. 8D is before you then with the amendments to create term limits prohibiting and striking the 1, 2, 3 Roman numerals to either 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C.
And do you, and again, you have the choice on the arguments of being in favor or against these measures, or dealing with them differently.
Okay? I support writing arguments in opposition to both.
Agreed.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll have a resolution with arguments against for both.
So I ask for support of a motion showing amendments as illustrated and allowing all 5 to demonstrate their signatures in arguments against, and the arguments to be prepared by staff for our review.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mills and second by Ms. Reller Spurgeon. Additional comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll go to roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, 5-0, it's unanimous. We'll await the new documents for review. Mr. Alshire, 8E, please, sir.
8E, this measure is council-initiated and deals with appointments to boards and commissions, and reads, "Shall the city charter be amended to provide that persons serving on city boards and commissions be nominated and appointed by the city council rather than nominated by the mayor and appointed by the city council?" This one I thought, again, was pretty straightforward.
That one's fine. Yeah.
Council okay with that, the way it's stated? Okay?
Now, on the argument issue on this one, one of your options is to kind of, I mean, it's possible that some council members would be on one side of this and some council members on the other side of it. And so you could actually have 2 resolutions, one with council members who were in favor and one with council members against. What happens is if the council chooses as council members to submit arguments, then you eliminate the possibility that somebody else files the argument. If you wanted to possibly file arguments, but you wanted some other group or persons in the city to also sign the measure, then as council members, you would not authorize yourself to do the arguments. You would just, with a group of other persons, submit something, and then your argument would go with the names of the persons that made that submittal. But in the event there were 2 groups submitting, the city clerk gets to choose which argument gets printed. Is that clear?
Council okay with that?
I'd like a repeat.
Would you?
Either we write
Okay.
it, or if we don't write it, someone else does, and if both people write it, then the city clerk determines which one best captures the argument.
Right.
She determines who is the eligible one for printing in the ballot book.
But the "we" could be the council split?
Yeah,
Part could be
if the
for,
council
part could be
members
against.
Clearly.
want to submit as council members on both sides of the argument, we have one resolution that's got 2 people against and 3 people for, or however it breaks out. But the only thing is, if you do that, then other people can't submit arguments. And so if you think that maybe there's some other people that you want to have join you in doing arguments, then you wouldn't submit officially as council members, you wouldn't adopt the resolution, you just go out and put that group together and submit. And if somebody else also submits, then the city clerk decides.
Okay? So with that, what's the council's pleasure?
Well, how about if we move the resolution first, because I'm assuming that we're not going to be unanimous on supporting this, at least I don't think we are.
I think that's why it's constructed in this
So
fashion.
why don't we just move the resolution first
Okay,
of all?
on the measure.
Is that your motion?
Measure.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Oden, second. Is there a motion by Ms. Hodges and second by Mr. Oden? Is that what the clerk shows?
I'll second it, that's fine.
Oh, whichever.
Okay.
Either one is fine.
For the measure as
There.
described in text. Okay? First roll, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
No.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Wells Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
No. 3-2. Okay, that is on. Now, arguments. Who wishes to file an argument pro or con?
I will make a resolution to file, pro.
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Oden.
Actually, one way that we might be able to do this is, we could put two parts to this resolution, where those of you who want to be on the yes are listed in section 1, and those on the no are in section 2, and then the resolution's approved 5-0. If you want to break down that way.
That's fine, whatever way you want to do it.
That's fine.
Yeah. So actually, if we have some council members that want to be on the yes side, they could say who they are, and then we could find out who the no's are.
I'm on the yes side.
I think
Yes.
that was already evident by the vote.
I had to ask,
You would.
All right, there are 3 on the pro side and there are 2 on the con side. Do the makers and supporters of pro wish to write an argument in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't care.
Okay, the ones who are opposed to
well,
it?
that needs to be clearer. Would you be in favor or against? Do you
Or do you
want
not
to
want
be,
your signature on
Do you want to
either?
be listed?
or not be listed at all?
No, I'm fine with yes.
Yes.
In
okay.
support of it?
Yeah.
Not in support of putting on it, but in
I
support of
understand.
what the measure
I-
says.
I get it.
Okay, all right. So your signature will be on the pro side, okay? On the con side, is the con side willing to write an argument against and sign it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So on this resolution, we'll list the measure, and then the next section will say, the following council members are authorized to file arguments in favor, and the next section, the following are authorized to file a measure against, and it'll all be in the same resolution.
Okay, so let me ask this. Both sides write their side's position in the paper, and the opposing views it and says, that's a good argument. I want to sign that one. Can they change? Or is this vote tonight cast your signature?
I don't know, that's a good question.
And a nod from the city clerk saying, this signature tonight is committed.
Well, this authorizes you to file the argument.
Okay.
Now, if somebody being authorized by the city council to file the argument at the last minute decides not to sign it, I think there's a good chance they could refuse to sign it. Not sure they're compelled to sign it.
But are they compelled, or can they then sign the other one, is my question? Or are they
I
restricted from doing
think
that?
I don't know for sure, okay?
gotta
So,
love it.
you go tonight with what you want. If that's a question, we'll look, if some council member does that to me, I'll look at it. But,
Don't take it personally, David. I'm not doing it to you, I assure you.
I like looking at novel questions of law.
You're in the right company then, sir. Okay? Council clear on where we're going? Okay, roll call then.
Ms. Hodges?
In favor.
This is for the whole resolution, and what I did was divide the resolution showing in favor Hodges, Oden, and Reller Spurgeon arguments, and arguments against Councilmember Mills and Mayor Kleindienst. And then we'll take it as one resolution.
Who made the motion?
I have down that Ms. Hodges made the motion and Mr. Oden seconded it.
Oh, we did the other one. We didn't do this one,
Well-
but that's fine. I'll do this one.
No, it's going to be one resolution with
Okay,
both
that's fine.
parts.
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Wells Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, 5-0. 5-0, we're divided.
You agree to disagree.
We agree to disagree, and we'll present our arguments accordingly. Item 8F, dealing with charter amendments on third highest vote getter.
Okay, this one we had more fun trying to word. The wording we came up with is Shall the city charter be amended so that if a vacancy occurs on the city council immediately before or after a city council election, the city council must appoint to the vacant office the losing candidate who received the highest number of votes of those who lost? Now, first of all, we had quite a little discussion when we presented this about how many days before, how many days after. And in the actual measure, we have wording concerning the 90 days that we talked about. But by the time I stuck all that in here, it lengthened this measure, and the point was, as far as the voters are concerned, it's immediately before or after the election, and then if they read the impartial analysis, we will define, or the measure itself, we define exactly what that is. The other thing that we kind of went around on is we keep referring this as to the third highest vote getter measure. And you know, right now the way council offices work out, it's there are always 2 council offices up, so if it applied, it would be a third highest vote getter. You know, if we ever went away from an elected mayor, and then you have elections where there's 3 council members at one election and there's 2 council members at the other, so it's not always historically the case that it would be the third highest vote getter. So instead of using that terminology, we basically said that it's the person of the losing candidates or the one that didn't get elected. The first draft I said, you know, the highest vote getter. Well, it's not the highest vote getter because the 2 people elected are the ones that got the highest votes. So it's the highest number of votes of the people that lost is what it came down to be. So this was about the 3rd different way I worded this, and I finally decided, well, this is probably, in essence, what it is that is happening.
Okay. Council questions, comments, amendments?
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hodges.
I can honestly say that after reading this, I wouldn't have the foggiest idea of what I was voting for. This doesn't make any sense to me. So I came up with this. Shall the city charter be amended so that if a vacancy occurs on the city council 90 days before or after a city council election, the city council must appoint the next highest vote getter in that election to the open seat?
Well said.
Like a loser thing.
Would you say it just one more time for me?
Sure.
Can you just, is it typed, is it written, can you just give it to her?
Yeah, I can.
Let's just give it to the
give
clerk,
it to
then
her.
she has it, and then you can just read it into the record from the clerk's standpoint. We're not dealing with the transcribing of the statement. Just doing word count, making sure you're 75.
You know, that discussion we had at the council study session concerning the 90 days before and after, and obviously we got into, is it 88 days or is it, what I finally figured out is the controlling event ought to be when the council calls the election. If the person resigns, like, let's say tonight, we're calling the election. If the resignation occurred yesterday, in your resolution calling the election, the council could say that seat's available. And then it would be decided by the election. There would be a direct election on that seat. Well, yesterday is the 89th day before the election. It's not the 90th day. So it sort of depends when you have the council meeting to call the election. You basically have a window, and the window's between 105 and 88 days. It could be the 104th day. So the way I've worded the charter is the last date is the 90 days, but the first date is if somebody resigns after the date the council has called the election, or 90 days after the election. And I think that basically works.
Can we just change that on?
Well, the thing was, I
Okay,
mean, I
I
could
don't
do
have it
that,
yet,
but it's,
so-
I thought that it would just say immediately.
Immediately is so vague. When is that?
It doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, in terms of, this isn't the measure this isn't the legal wording will be in the charter amendment that's attached. So the legal wording will be there. I just, instead of getting everybody it's just like you were trying, in your language, you tried to simplify this to not get people sidetracked.
No, I'm trying to, the person that, not everybody reads all of the
Yeah.
backup information. And the person that is in the booth going to vote, they read this, period. I just wanted them to know what they're reading and what they're voting on, what we've
Well,
been talking
okay.
about.
If you
Because
want.
this that you have written here, nobody would have the foggiest idea what you're talking about, in my opinion. So I
Well-
was trying to simplify it so people could understand what they were voting for if they did not read any backup information.
I liked your language, David.
Well, if you want to, instead of saying immediately, if you feel that's too vague, then I think what you'd have to say is after the election is called by the council, and within 90 days thereafter. And within 90 days after the election.
Is, the city clerk, is that, will that all fit in there? And you'll have to read it back now.
Well, I'm not real clear are we going with this and adding that language, or are you just
Yeah.
adding it to
Yes.
this one?
Right. No, they're taking out, to the vacant office, there's, must appoint, they're inserting the highest vote getter to the open seat, and they're taking this out. So we're taking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're taking out 18 words, and we're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're adding 9 words, so we just saved 9 words. But then instead of immediately, which was 1 word, we're adding occurs on the city council after the election is called, or within 90 days after a council election. So roughly, I think that will fit within the 75 words.
That will.
Yeah.
You want to read it back now, so,
Well, let me try. Shall the city charter be amended so that if a vacancy occurs on the city council after a city council election is called by the council, yeah, or within 90 days after the city council election, the city council must appoint the next highest vote getter to the open seat.
For the purposes of the ballot language, what does after the election mean? The election date, the certification of the election, is just the election date?
election date.
Thank you. That's not in this language, that's in the accompanying charter amendment. Okay. Are you within the 75 words?
Yeah. It's,
Okay.
so is the wording okay? Do you want to do the same thing where you do the resolution first and then we talk about the arguments?
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion for approval by Ms. Hodges and second by Mr. Oden. All those in favor of the measure as the language has been modified? Roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
We're doing this like the last one, right?
Yes. Right now, though, you're just approving the measure.
Aye.
Okay. The wording.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr.
You're
Mayor?
approving the language.
The wording of the ballot measure,
Right.
not you're approving the measure. You're approving an election, you're calling an election to vote on this measure.
No.
And then the next measure, or the next issue, are the ballot arguments. And again, we can divide that into two sections,
Pro and con.
pro and con.
All right, those in favor, do you wish to have a ballot argument, and will you support it by signature?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
And no, so you've got 2 on and 3 opposed, correct?
Well, Jeannie, would you sign the opposed argument then?
No.
No.
You wouldn't
Okay,
sign
so-
any argument?
I don't want to sign any.
Okay, good, you're neutral of the argument.
Okay, so there are 2 council members authorized in favor and 2 opposed. And so, again, we'd add 2 sections of this resolution indicating each.
Okay, so I've got a record of 2 pro, Hodges and Oden, 2 con, Mills and Kleindings, 1 neutral, Ms. Rella Spurgeon.
Right, but she wouldn't be mentioned on the resolution at all.
Understood, but as long as the record shows that. So she did take a
Yeah.
position, but she's not affixing her signature, nor taking a position on it.
My position is to allow
Voters.
the voters the opportunity to make their wishes known.
Got it, good. Okay? I need to take a vote on that?
Now on the resolution itself with those 2 sections, the pro and con section. The question, it's on a resolution, so you now need to adopt the resolution to authorize the filing of the arguments by those 2 groups of council members.
Council clear on that?
I'll
Good.
move the resolution.
Second?
Motion approved by Ms. Hodges and a second by Mr. Oden. I'll ask them for a roll.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
And Mr. Mayor?
Aye, 5-0. Okay,
Now, just to follow up one more time.
Please.
You are limited to 300 words, and those arguments are due in the office of the city clerk by August the 20th at 5 p.m. Your rebuttal arguments will be due by August 30th. You're limited to 250 words at that time.
what's the rebuttal date?
Rebuttal date is August the 30th. 10 days later, you're limited to 250 words on the rebuttal, 300 on your primary argument, which is due by August 20th.
Got it, good, thank you. Okay, item number 9 is ordinance for second reading and adoption. There are 2 before you, one dealing with handbills and littering. The second one is time limits on claims against the city. I will ask the maker to please request from the clerk the reading of the title and waiving of the text, if it is the maker's pleasure.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Roden. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Rella Spurgeon. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, I will ask the clerk to again read title, waiving text, and then we'll take roll. This is for second reading and adoption.
This be an ordinance of the City of Palm Springs, California, repealing sections 5.20.060, 090, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, and 160, and amending sections 5.20.010, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, and 80 of the Palm Springs Municipal Code regulating littering.
Thank you. And the second title? You want to take separate roll? We'll take a separate roll then on that for your records then. Roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
All right. And we'll then go for time limits on claims against the city, please. Again, reading title and waiving text. Madam Clerk?
This would be an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Springs, amending Section 3.16.010, claims for money or damages, and adding new sections 3.16.15 and 3.16.18, and amending Sections 3.24.150, 3.28.150, and 3.32210 of the Palm Springs Municipal Code.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Hodges?
Aye.
Mr. Mills?
Aye.
Mr. Oden?
Aye.
Ms. Rose Spurgeon?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor?
Aye, it's 5-0, it's deemed unanimous. Item 10 is a tennis center lease and has been withdrawn at the request of the city manager. And item 11 is an option agreement, 9.52 acres regarding Suet and Block, again withdrawn at the request of the city manager. Mr. Reddy, are there any additional legislative items, sir?
There are none.
Thank you. Are there any added starters, sir?
There are none.
Under reports and requests, council, do you have any reports or requests at this time? Very good. I will state that I am leaving for the next 2 weeks, starting Saturday for vacation, so I will not be in attendance at the next 2 meetings while I'm away with family in the east visiting my family. My mother is 84 and seemingly not in the best of health, so I'm going to try to see if I can't spend some remaining time with her. Under public reports or requests, are there any staff reports or requests, Mr. Reddy?
There are none, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next meeting is August 21st at 7 o'clock, and our next study session will be August 14th. Both will be at 7 o'clock, and both are preceded by a closed session at 5:30. It is now 8:24. Seeing no further business before the council, we will stand adjourned. Thank you. Good night.